Hey guys, I'm back with another reading lesson. I want to talk about discovering the lessons in the stories that you read. I'm sure most of you have been to a Chinese restaurant, and usually at the end of the meal at the Chinese restaurant, they give you a fortune cookie. And inside the fortune cookie, there's a little piece of paper that has a life lesson on it. And it tells you how to live a good life. Like it might say, make new friends, but keep the old ones. Um, which means like don't forget about the friends that have always been there. Another thing it might say is don't give up. So it might have all these great little lessons on the pieces of paper. Um, well, stories are like fortune cookies. When you open up a story and you read it, you often find a life lesson inside it. Um, we talked about how when you read stories, you go on an adventure. And just like adventures in real life, like if you go on a vacation or something and you come back, usually you think over what you did during the vacation, maybe anything you learned from that time. Um, and really, any little adventure you have, you oftentimes think back over it and think about what you learned. Like, I remember one time I helped my friend, my older friend, plant a garden. She needed some help. So, after I was done, I thought back over that and I said, you know what? It feels good to help people. So, that was like a little life lesson that I learned. Um, so, the same thing, you should do the same thing with stories. When stories are over, you should think about what was the lesson that I learned in the story. And all of those lessons that you learn, you can hold on to and you can think about them in your own life. When you come to a problem in your own life, you can think about those lessons and how they might help you. So at the beginning of the school year, we read the story Ish, remember? And the little boy didn't think his drawings were good enough, but he learned that you just have to do your best and your best is good enough. And remember, then he started making the drawings, and it said tree-ish or flower-ish or rainbow-ish. And remember, I had you make a drawing, and I hung it up on the line by the curtain. In Frog and Toad Are Friends, you might learn that friends are always there for each other, or it's nice to have friends. We read Chrysanthemum, I think, at the beginning of the year, where everybody was making fun of her name. And, the message in that book was that everybody's different, everybody's name is different, and you can't make fun of people. Don't bully people. While we've been home, we read Amazing Grace. Remember, she didn't, they made fun of her for trying out for the play, and she learned to believe in yourself. That was the message. In Rainbow Fish, we learned that everybody is different, right? So, unlike fortune cookies, where you just pull out a piece of paper and read the lesson, readers really have to think hard to figure out the lesson in the story. So there's a few tips that are on the chart Readers Learn Lessons, which I'm gonna attach at the bottom of this lesson, and it's also under Reading Tools. And the first one is that sometimes you can reread the ending of a story and think, how did the trouble get fixed? That might give you a clue about the lesson. And then you can also think, what did the character realize or what did the character learn? That can help you figure out the lesson in the story. So, for example, in the story Little Red Riding Hood, remember Little Red's mother told her to go straight to her grandmother's house and not to talk to any strangers, remember? But did Little Red listen? No. She talked to the wolf, remember, along the way? And she told him where she was going. So you remember what happened? The wolf ran ahead and went to grandmother's house and gobbled up the grandmother and put the grandmother's dress and bonnet on and pretended to be her. But then Little Red Riding Hood noticed when she got there that something was strange. Remember, she said, "What a big nose you have." And she sees that the wolf is pretending to be her grandmother before he gets to gobble her up. So what did Little Red learn at the end of the story? She learned maybe don't talk to strangers, maybe listen to your mom. So there was a little lesson buried in that story. What about Poppleton and Cherry Sue? I think I attached this story to one of the lessons, but remember that in Poppleton, uh, in the Poppleton story that Cherry Sue keeps inviting Poppleton over for oatmeal and toasted cheese and spaghetti, but Poppleton is sick of it. He wants to be left alone. So one day, Cherry Sue looks out the window to invite Poppleton over again. And what does Poppleton do? He soaks her with the hose. But in the end, it just turned out that Cherry Sue was only inviting Poppleton over so that his feelings wouldn't be hurt. So what do you think Poppleton learned? What did Cherry Sue learn? Maybe Poppleton learned that he should talk to Cherry Sue and tell her how he's feeling, right? He should have told her that he needed a night to himself. And then he wouldn't have gotten so frustrated and squirted her with the hose. And Cherry Sue should have just stopped inviting Poppleton over. Okay? So they both kind of learned a lesson in the story. So you really need to think hard to figure out the lesson, okay? And try to look at that chart and think about how the story ended. What did they learn in the story? Okay? What did the character realize? And you should always, from now on, after you're done reading a story, think about what the story taught you. What was the lesson in the story? What was the author trying to teach you? Okay? And then you can hold on to those lessons and use them in your own life. All right? I'll see you next time.